At 2:17 a.m., my phone lit up with a motion alert from the dining room camera at Casa Alma, my mom's tiny Mexican spot wedged between a laundromat and a nail salon. I tapped the video expecting to see a stray raccoon or the cleaning crew. Instead, the feed split my stomach open. My Uncle Rafa, in his faded Dodgers hoodie, moved straight for the office, punched in the code, and opened the safe like it belonged to him. He didn't hesitate. He didn't count. He slid thick bundles of deposit envelopes into a reusable grocery bag, the kind we keep under the counter for to-go orders. He checked the haul. He turned the camera toward the wall, but not before looking up into the lens, just once, like he knew exactly where to stare to make me feel seen. I sat up in the dark, the blue light flattening my room. In the apartment above the restaurant, pipes clicked, and someone's shower started. I replayed the clip 3 times, my thumb shaking harder each time. Mom was asleep down the hall, the door half closed, the TV still murmuring a cooking show host saying salt is love. I should have gone to wake her. I should have called the police. Instead, I opened the restaurant's POS dashboard. The numbers told a story I didn't want. Tuesday's cash sales were off by $480. Last Friday, off by $620. Line by line, the pattern repeated. Cash-only tables. Voids after close. Tip adjustments that didn't match the server reports. It all formed this quiet river that had been flowing out the back door for weeks. Maybe months. Rafa had rebuilt our walk-in cooler with his own hands after it died in July and melted $1,000 in chicken. He was the one who carried 50-pound sacks of flour for tortillas up the stairs when the elevator broke. He stayed late to patch the ceiling after the storm, and Mom called him mi brazo derecho, her right arm. Watching him on that grainy camera felt like watching a bridge I trusted crumble in real time. I texted him first because I needed to believe there was some explanation that didn't make him a thief. Me, why are you at the restaurant right now? The typing bubble popped up, then disappeared. A minute later. Rafa, ice machine. It was leaking. Don't worry. Me, then why did you open the safe? No reply. I sent the clip. 3 dots. Nothing. By 7 a.m. I was downstairs brewing coffee that tasted like anxiety. Mom came in yawning and tied her apron. She kissed my cheek, then paused because I didn't smile back. ¿Qué pasó? She asked. We need to look at last night, I said. She straightened slowly, like she could already feel the shape of the bad news. I showed her the video. She went very still. Her hand found the edge of the stainless counter. For a second I thought she might crack a joke or call it a misunderstanding. Instead, she whispered, Rafa, like a prayer and a curse at once. She took the phone, watched again, then set it down like it contained heat. The morning was already waiting. Our prep cook, Luz, knocked and the scent of onions hit the room. Julio, our line cook, dropped his backpack. The produce delivery guy rolled in crates of cilantro and limes. Mom moved through it all in silence. She checked each invoice, signed with a pen that rattled against the clipboard. When she reached for the safe to pull cash for the delivery, her hand hovered in midair. She turned away and pulled bills from the register instead. By noon, the restaurant filled with the usual weekday crowd. Regulars in paint-splattered work pants ordered carnitas bowls. A couple from the office park split a plate of enchiladas and a Coke. I could feel the secret like a fog. Every time the register drawer slid open, my eyes flicked there against my will. Mom cooked with a precision that looked like denial. When someone called out "Gracias, Alma," she smiled with her mouth and nowhere else. At 2 p.m., Rafa walked in like he owned the sun. He brought the same easy grin he always wore when he pretended not to know how to work a mop. The room seemed to tilt. He grabbed a soda from the fridge and leaned on the counter. "We good for tonight?" he asked, as if the night was a thing you could tighten like a bolt. Mom stared at him for a long time. Then she nodded toward the office. "Vamos," she said softly. "Let's go." Inside the little office, everything was loud. The hood fans, the fryer, the muffled clink of dishes. Mom closed the door and folded her arms. I pressed the screen recording on my phone in case he denied it. She didn't waste words. She played the clip. He watched without flinching. "Explain," she said. Rafa's smile drained. He rubbed his forehead and then said the line that made me feel like the floor had been pulled. "It wasn't mine." Mom blinked. I blinked. "What does that mean?" I asked. He looked at the safe as if the answer lived there. "I was putting back what someone else took." My throat tightened. "Who?" He looked at my mother. Then at me. "You're not going to like it." Mom didn't speak for a long time. The air in that tiny office thickened until it felt hard to breathe. Outside, someone called for extra salsa. The printer spat out an order ticket. But in here, silence roared. Finally, Mom said, "Who took it, Rafa?" He shifted his weight, avoiding her eyes. "You don't want to know." "I wouldn't ask if I didn't," she said, her tone suddenly sharp, the tone she used when suppliers tried to raise prices on her. He sighed. "Luis." My heart dropped. "My brother?" "No way." Rafa nodded. "He's been skimming from the register for months. He thought no one would notice small amounts. I tried to cover it before you found out. Last night, I put the money back. It didn't make sense." Luis was the quiet one, the accountant who handled payroll, the one who stayed late balancing ledgers while Mom and I scrubbed the kitchen. He'd graduated college, wore ironed shirts, and never once took home free food without logging it. "You expect us to believe that?" I said. Rafa shrugged. "Believe what you want. But check the logs. You'll see withdrawals tagged under his code." Mom unlocked the computer, her fingers trembling slightly. The system loaded slow, like it too didn't want to reveal what it knew. I watched as she opened the security logs. There it was, half a dozen manager access entries under Luis's ID, always late at night, always on weekends. "Maybe he was making deposits," I said, desperate for another answer. Mom scrolled further. Each entry matched a day when our cash balance came up short. Her jaw tightened. "He's my son," she said quietly, to herself more than to us. "And he's stealing," Rafa said, voice low but steady. I didn't know what else to do. "If you saw me in that video and thought I was the thief, it'd push you to check." I figured, it was better you hated me for a day than loved him while he stole everything. Mom's hand covered her mouth. She looked at Rafa as if seeing him for the first time. I couldn't tell if it was gratitude or pain behind her eyes. "Why not just tell me?" she whispered. He hesitated. "Because blood blinds people. You wouldn't have believed me." He wasn't wrong. I didn't believe him now, not fully. But the evidence sat there, pixel by pixel, time-stamped, undeniable. The pieces rearranged themselves in my head, Luis offering to handle cash deposits alone, insisting the cameras be turned off after midnight, suggesting we delay audits until the next quarter. Things I'd brushed off because it was family. The sound of keys in the back door made us all freeze. Luis walked in, carrying a laptop bag and a fresh coffee. He stopped when he saw us, 3 statues in the office. "What's going on?" he asked. Mom didn't answer. She clicked play on the footage. Rafa's figure appeared on the screen. The safe opening. The bundles of cash. Luis's face went pale, but not with guilt, more like shock. He pointed. "You think that's me?" "You tell me," Mom said coldly. "Rafa says you've been stealing." Luis's voice cracked. "Are you serious? You believe him?" "Then explain your access logs," I said, spinning the monitor toward him. He leaned forward, scanning the timestamps. Then he let out a short, bitter laugh. "You think I don't know how to fake a code entry? Rafa's had my password since December. He helps me run payroll. Check the IP logs, every one of those entries came from his laptop. Mom looked between them like she was watching two sons she loved set a fire she couldn't stop. Enough, she said. Both of you. Sit. They did, facing each other across the desk. The hum of the refrigerator filled the pause. Rafa said, "You're lying." Luis said, "You're projecting." Mom pressed her palms together like she was praying for the truth to choose a side. "We'll find out," she said. "Tonight, after close, we're checking every account, every camera, every login. And until then, neither of you goes near the safe." Luis stood. "You can check anything you want. I've got nothing to hide." Rafa didn't move. "Neither do I." That night after closing, Mom and I stayed in the restaurant until midnight, combing through bank statements, USB backups, and hours of security footage. The numbers were a maze. Some withdrawals matched Rafa's explanation. Others lined up with Luis's schedule. Every discovery blurred the line instead of clarifying it. At 12:46 a.m. While scrolling through February's recordings, I caught something neither of them had mentioned, a short clip from the storage room camera, one we'd installed after the last theft scare. The timestamp showed 2:11 a.m. Two shadows moved across the frame. One was clearly Rafa. The other wore a hoodie with the restaurant's logo, the one Luis had left in his office. They were together. I zoomed in, heart pounding. Rafa handed Luis an envelope. Luis counted something inside. Then both looked toward the camera, and cut the power. Mom leaned over my shoulder, breath shallow. "So they were both in on it?" she whispered. The realization felt like a betrayal folding in on itself, layers of deceit stacked so deep I couldn't tell where it began. Outside, the city was asleep. Inside Casa Alma, two brothers' secrets were just waking up. The next morning, Casa Alma smelled like burnt coffee and tension. None of us had slept. Mom stood behind the counter, her eyes hollow, stirring sugar into a mug she wasn't drinking from. Rafa and Luis avoided looking at each other. The restaurant opened at 8, but no one had flipped the sign to open. At 8:07, I locked the front door and pulled down the blinds. "We're not serving anyone until we settle this," I said. My voice came out flatter than I felt. "We finish it now." Rafa leaned back against the counter, arms crossed. Luis dropped his phone on the table and sat, trying for calm but twitching his leg like a man sitting on a grenade. Mom walked to the office and returned with a manila folder, bank statements, screenshots, timestamps, receipts, every piece of proof we'd dug up overnight. She placed it on the table between them like evidence in a trial. "No more stories," she said. "I want truth." Luis spoke first. "You saw the video." Rafa was in the office. "I wasn't even there." Rafa's jaw flexed. "You were the one taking the money. You used my login to hide it." "Your login?" "You're the one who begged me for access when payroll crashed," Luis shot back. "You wanted to help. You were just covering your tracks." "Enough." Mom's voice cracked through the air. "You both talk like strangers. What happened to my sons?" No one answered. I opened the laptop, pulled up the backup footage from the cloud. "Look," I said. "This is from February 3rd, the storage room camera." They leaned forward as I played it. The two figures appeared, Rafa and someone in a hoodie with the restaurant's logo. Luis squinted. "That's not me," he said immediately. "I was in Fresno that night. Check the gas receipts." He wasn't lying, I checked the receipts myself earlier. The timestamp matched a charge from his card at a station 200 miles away. Mom's head turned slowly toward Rafa. "Then who were you meeting?" Rafa's mouth opened but no sound came out. His eyes flicked toward the office door like maybe the right answer was hidden back there. Finally, he whispered, "It was Marco." "Marco?" I repeated. "The dishwasher?" "He quit in February." "Yeah," Rafa said, rubbing his temple. He said he needed money fast. Told me Luis was underpaying him, that he was gonna take what he deserved if I didn't help. I tried to calm him down, but then he showed up that night. He stopped, the words drying in his mouth. He took the money, not me. I gave it back later. Why didn't you tell us? Mom asked, voice trembling. Because I was stupid, Rafa said. Because I thought I could fix it without dragging everyone down. I stood, pacing. So you helped him steal, then quietly put the money back weeks later? You realize that's not loyalty, that's complicity. He looked at me, shame carved deep into his face. I know. The air thinned again. Outside, someone knocked on the locked door, a delivery driver, maybe, but no one moved. Mom rubbed her forehead, tears threatening. We're family, she said softly, but family doesn't survive on lies. Then, from behind me, Luis's phone buzzed. A notification popped up on the screen, bright and silent. A new email, subject line, deposit transfer confirmed. I grabbed it before he could. What's this? I opened the message. My stomach turned. It was a bank confirmation, $2,800 transferred from the restaurant account to a personal account in Luis's name. Timestamp, 2 days ago. Rafa's laugh was sharp, bitter. Still nothing to hide, huh? Luis's face went pale. No, that's not what you think. It's reimbursement. I covered payroll when the business account froze last month. Show proof, I said. He fumbled for words, for logic, for something that could make the truth less ugly. Mom just stared at him, her eldest, the responsible one, the example. She looked smaller somehow. You both broke my trust, she said quietly. I built this place from nothing, and you turned it into a battlefield. No one replied. The hum of the refrigerator filled the silence again. That afternoon, I changed the passwords on every account. I ordered new security codes, new access cards, new cameras. Mom didn't stop me. She just sat in the corner booth, staring at the mural on the wall, the one Rafa had painted years ago of her holding a tray of tamales, smiling. She didn't look at it the same anymore. By evening, Rafa packed his toolbox and left without a word. Luis followed an hour later after transferring the reimbursement back. He didn't say goodbye either. Only Mom and I stayed behind, wiping down tables that didn't need cleaning. When the restaurant finally reopened 2 days later, customers came in like nothing had happened. They ordered enchiladas, chatted about the weather, complimented the salsa. Mom smiled and thanked them, but there was a crack in her voice now, a quiet that hadn't been there before. A week later, she handed me the keys after closing. You run it now, she said. I need time. I took them, feeling the weight of more than metal. She walked out into the night, shoulders straight, apron still on. I watched her go until the streetlight swallowed her figure. That night, I sat in the office alone. I looked at the safe, the cameras, the logs, all clean now, all sterile. But the truth had already left its stain. Families don't collapse in one moment. They dissolve in a series of small, cowardly choices. When I finally turned off the lights, I whispered what Mom used to say before every service, let's make something good today. And for the first time, I realized she hadn't just meant food.